Should have done that before, but there we are. Okay. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. Give you a second to trickle in. You know, that helps if you turn the Restream replayer on. Puts it out to all those places I just listed. It'd be pretty difficult to tell you to go and share the stream if no one can see it because it was only live on my end. So welcome. Hope that you're doing well. Hope that you're having a better day today than you were yesterday, and just keep that momentum going all day. Is it up yet? I feel like you probably shouldn't have to wait this long. On Pilled, on Rumble, on Odyssey, and on X, we are live there, and even over on YouTube. I'm expecting some copyright strikes today, so how are you? Let me know in the chat. Scale of 1 to 10 used to be what I'd asked for. I'd say scale of 1 to 10, how's the day, how's the week? And you'd be surprised how many 11s we'd get in there. You'd be surprised. Maybe you wouldn't be. All right. Brian Atlas over at the Whatever podcast posted this 5 hours ago. He said, "What opinion of yours do you stand by like this? In the face of every single person telling you that you're wrong, that you're stupid, that you're dumb to think it." And I know a couple people out there will be saying flat earth, and I'll leave that one alone. What opinion of yours do you stand by like this? And so I responded and I said this one. And yes, it's the pinned post still on my profile from August when I had predicted that Charlie Kirk would be assassinated by Israel and that they would make it appear as though he were shot by a groiper with a genetically anomalous issue, is how I'd phrased it. A retarded groiper, just dumb enough to believe he could go and be some lone gunman with the help of his online friends, but also dumb enough to not know those online friends were feds setting him up. That was the post. And I wonder, for you, what would be the post that you would say, you stand by it, you swear by it, no one's going to dissuade you from your belief in it, or maybe not a post, but what's your conspiracy theory, your belief, your opinion that you stand by like that? So that's a question I want to lead off with. And then I'll kind of divert to this. I do not like Karlin Borisenko. I don't think anyone that advertises themselves as an anti-communist is. I just have a hard time buying it. When you act exactly like all of the modern new age leftist communists, you just say you don't support and believe what they do, but you're in with them, you're best friends with them. It's like when you see the BG on the scene videos and you go, I know they say, Gutenberg or Gutenschlag or whatever his name is. I know they say Brandon isn't friends with all these rioters, but how does he continue to be right next to them, not get attacked by them, and videotape everything they're doing? Seems kind of odd. It's like a dog that doesn't bark. Anyways, here's Karlin Borisenko, another anti-communist cult leader, exposing you, and she actually says it, I expose and decode the radical revolutionary far left in America. Or you normalize it. But anyways, here's a post from her. She says, a leftist protester claiming to be a veteran outside of the ICE facility in Minnesota says that ICE officers should be shot. This just happened live. Never forget the left wants you dead. Now, that's true. And so we'll watch this. But the live news that he was speaking to edited the clip to cut this. It says, the news edit, this is from Kevin's Chaotic Coffee. Thank you, Kevin, for the submission. User submissions on news are awfully helpful. You can send them to my DMs being open on X, or I guess you can find any other reply method to share a link. This from Kevin. He says, this news outlet edits video to remove a segment where a veteran calls for ICE to be shot. So, all right, let's watch the unedited
fucking oath to defend the country from foreign domestic terrorism and to fight for the Constitution and these guys are coming here disgracing this fucking building. I'm a veteran of 7 years. I've bled for this country. I fought for this country, for these people here of Minnesota to come and fight these motherfuckers. And they're here next to me. I'm sorry. They need to fucking be shot. They're disgracing this fucking country and what it fucking means. They hide behind their fucking masks like fucking pussies. We're out here in the middle of everything, showing ourselves, showing our Minnesota and our freedom. And they're here, bullshit.
What?
So take that. I'm sorry.
They sprayed your dog?
Yes, they were following ISIS down the highway and they sprayed.
You named your daughter Isis? Wait. Now, I had a black friend named Pinky who had a dog named Isis. And she tried to explain to me that it was like the name of an Egyptian goddess and you don't understand. And I knew she wasn't about Muslim insanity. And so I get, fine, whatever. This guy says he was deployed for 7 years. And he named his daughter Isis? Hello? Red flags. Hello, what's the show? Homeland? Anybody?
So take that! I'm sorry.
They sprayed your dog?
Yes!
So he says the woman off to his side is telling them they harassed his daughter the other day.
They were following ISIS down the highway and they sprayed my daughter and my wife and they almost ran them off the fucking road.
So they weren't on the road with cars, or they were on the road on their feet? And they almost got are they playing traffic dummy? Are they playing get in the way of ICE again?
Okay.
So that was another thing.
Yeah.
Fuck them people out here. Our state representatives need to step up and fight for their fucking people like we're fighting. But they're too coward. They stay in their mansions and don't give a shit about us. And all they want is these fuckers to come in here, destroy this fucking states. So fuck it. Now you protest. Fuck ICE.
Okay. Now we'll see
Man,
how
take
it
a
was
fuck-
how it was reported.
An oath to defend the country from foreign domestic terrorism and to fight for the Constitution. And these guys are coming here disgracing this fucking building. I'm a veteran of 7 years. I've bled for this country. I fought for this country, for these people here of Minnesota to come and fight these motherfuckers. They're disgracing this fucking country and what it fucking means. They hide behind their fucking masks like fucking pussies.
You like that little edit? Nice little cut there. Isn't that nice? That's what we come to expect. Thank you, Kevin, for sharing that. That's interesting. From Status Quo News. They're going to take the words of a veteran when they're helpful, but we will not take all of the words of that veteran because they actually kind of expose the incredibility of what he's saying. Yeah, the veteran looks like he's informed and angry and just real riled up once we cut out the death threats and the rabid, foaming at the mouth, manic response that he has in public. Once we cut out all the death threats of public officials and federal agents, then that guy starts to make a lot of sense. Okay. Well. What else do we have to talk about yet today but Greenland? I know you know what Greenland is. Can you find it on a map and not mistake it for Iceland on accident first? Me neither. Here, why is Greenland so important? Explained in 2 minutes.
To penetrate our naval defenses is steaming from the Arctic to the North Atlantic. This is our military presence in the Arctic. These are Russia's Arctic.
Now, closer up, we can tell that is a famous actress. I forget the name of, but you understand. It's a woman that we knew, but from this angle, I thought it was what was it? The Budweiser guy? Budweiser lady in the tub? What was his name? Dylan Mulvaney? I thought that was Dylan Mulvaney. Anyways.
In the Arctic. These were Russia's Arctic military positions in 1995. Today, infantry, naval, radar, search and rescue, air defense, the biggest buildup since the Soviets fell. This is where we lost Russia's most sophisticated submarines in the North Atlantic for 3 weeks. This is where we found their Lisharik submarine, which we noticed only because it caught fire. We have no idea how many more there are, but we think they're around here, 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 and here. This is Cregan. You know what Cregan is?
A nuclear submarine base in Scotland.
All of the UK's nuclear weaponry is housed at Cregan. It's what makes them one of the 9 nuclear powers. Also, it's the only base in Europe where we can dock our nuclear subs. It's the last place we have any hope of detecting a Russian sub before it's in the vast Atlantic barreling toward New York. Cregan is target 1 in the European theater of war. The Scots hate nukes, and they hate English overreach, but they really hate having a bullseye on their heads. If Scotland had gone independent,
They would have closed the base.
in a second. When we took our forces out of Iceland, Russian sub-activity skyrocketed, as did air incursions. When we pulled our combat brigades from Europe, anyone?
Russia annexed Crimea.
Is there a universe in which the United States could afford to lose the base in Scotland?
No.
Very intense. Very exciting. Just triple checking to be sure that we're up over on YouTube and on X. That was working before. Rumble. Let me see. Is Rumble live? Says we're live. Good deal. We've got activity, which is good. Sometimes Odyssey is slow, so you never know. So long as you can hear and you can see, we're fine. So Greenland is in question. Actually, Candace Owens asks, question for all the conspiracy theorists only. What's the real reason the deep state is suddenly obsessed with seizing Greenland? And obviously, when she asks this, it's tongue-in-cheek. She's saying, only for the conspiracy theorists. She doesn't want the textbook example answer given by CNN. She wants the real answer. The answer that makes half the family at Thanksgiving immediately write you and your opinion off. And there are a few. Viva Fry doesn't understand the question. He says, America's literally been talking about taking over Greenland for about 200 years. Yeah, we know the political machine always churns, bud. Thanks. What we're actually asking is, what is it going to be gobbling up this time? There's a reason for it, and it's not just, well, the Russians could attack us. That's true anywhere, anytime, all the time. And so that actually helps them out, because now anytime they want to do something, they can just say, well, the Russians could get us here. This is a vector of attack for the Russians. If we had a one world government, then we would be defending, weaponizing space, saying the same things about the new Russians from above. They'd tell you that the alien forces were at any point in time going to attack us through this vector if we don't then put all the resources we have into being managed over here by them. Money, please. That's how this is working out. So, yeah, we want Greenland, sure, for the resources, for the minerals, for the oil, for the whatever, for the UFOs, for the electromagnetic frequencies, or whatever else that you can find on the internet to explain it. But we want to know, what's the most harebrained, good excuse for going after Greenland? And I think the best one is this one, that the Club of Rome, that Committee of 300, the group organized in 1968 by the Morgenthau Group for the purpose of accelerating plans to have a new world order in place by 2000. And you can say, well, they've probably revised that plan a few times and shuffled up the time frames and allowed for the scheduling to be more subtle, less noticeable. And we've said that different organizations, the World Economic Forum and others, they've kind of had to ramp up their 2030 plan, as we've seen in recent years. This says, the Club of Rome developed a plan to divide the world into 10 regions. So we have those pulled up. And it makes a little bit more sense when you see Region 1 being the United States and Canada and Greenland, why we would be slowly weakening Canada with the help of European leaders and their own Canadian leaders. Canada's becoming weaker. Their neighbors are becoming weaker, except for the United States, at least economically speaking. We're talking about, right when Donald Trump wins the election, we're talking about whether we want to take over Canada as the 51st state or buy Greenland as another territory. So, I mean, it kind of creates a false dichotomy there, which is, which one do we take first? I'm not opposed to it. But when you see why they want it done, then you can kind of become opposed to how they do it. It's great if the United States territory continues to expand and gets the Louisiana Purchase and goes all the way out to the Gold Coast of California. It's wonderful if we continue to expand. I don't have any problem with American expansionism. But when that dog is only leashed and allowed to hunt when it's going to benefit some World Economic Forum or some other larger shadowy organization, then it's not good. Then I'm not for it, because I don't want them to take a winning move if it also allows them to further their agenda. Does that make sense? We can win on our own. Whatever they're getting out of it, we should stop and then move forward with the plan once they're out of it. That's so weird. It sounds like a door's opening here. Moving on. Again, comes back to, you might be sitting at your keyboard thinking, do I even put it in the comments or not that it's Israel? Because we all kind of assume that that's what we're referring to. Why now scramble to get Greenland and still blame Russia as if they're the reason for it? Hey, so long as we see Israel expanding, why wouldn't the United States be duped into that? Would Donald Trump's ego be stroked a little bit by someone in Israel or in our own intelligence agencies meeting and coordinating and then presenting this to Trump like, look, it's not popular that you're going to support the Make Israel Great Again initiative, the Greater Israel Project. It's not popular. Your own base is going to torch you for it online. But, if we want to neglect that and pat ourselves with a win, you can make the same arguments for yourself, Trump. I mean, sure, Israel is going to expand and we're going to threaten military force if people don't allow themselves to be regime changed. But we're going to do that. But America, so can you. Trump, why don't you do that? Go take over Venezuela politically. Go take over Greenland politically. Go cripple Canada politically if you want. And Trump just goes, yeah, maybe we should do that. Maybe we should go cripple Iran and all the other people that we constantly point at. Look, the deep state's going to forever say, Iran is a problem. Russia is a problem. Venezuela is a problem. And then enable them. So maybe Trump in his final years is just going to go out and say, let's go after all the problems. Let's go and take them all out so that the future, they won't be able to point to them any longer. I think it's a bad play. I don't think that's really what's happening. But how else do you explain trying to preserve nuclear stations from 1967? If you saw the movie Abyss from James Cameron, that's kind of what this seems like. Except instead of a nuclear submarine being at the bottom of an abyss and then being captured by aliens and being saved by a UFO underground, all that, whatever. Instead of that, the lost nuclear secrets, the dossier they need to go collect, is actually in a base in Greenland. And so that first clip we just watched kind of makes a little bit more sense. I hate to see Hollywood be so transparent and just telegraph current events and international relations to their audiences in movies and television because it's the only media that they consume. But maybe that's what it is. Anyway, we'll move on. Some blowback from some of those actions we just discussed. If Trump is going to be emboldened by his counterparts in Tel Aviv, if the Israelis and the American Zionist Jews as well here backing him, tell him, hey, look, so long as Israel's allowed to continue to expand, we see no reason why the U.S. shouldn't be allowed to change its borders. It's not just a renaming of a gulf on the map that you can do, Trump. Greenland has a ton of resources that would fund and fuel the next American century. And wouldn't you like to take some responsibility for that? We look at Jefferson or Jackson or any of these other presidents who've had expansionist eras under their belts, and Trump, you could be one. It was the 50 nifty United States for how long until Donald Trump came along and decided to make America even larger. And so maybe he heard that and goes, I am a real estate guy. I do like to make deals on land. Here's some blowback from that already. 3 men arrested for attempted murder of federal agents in Minneapolis have been identified as illegal immigrants from Venezuela. I'm sure we'll learn that they came under Biden and so that they've been activated recently, or some other, get this off of Trump. It's not really his fault. And it isn't. But if he had 20,000 or 30,000 National Guard and ICE pulled into all these different states, these people would be gone already. 3 men arrested for ambushing an ICE agent in Minneapolis on Wednesday have all been identified as illegal immigrants from Venezuela, who were let into the country under the Biden administration, say officials today, calling the attack an attempted murder of federal law enforcement officers. The Department of Homeland Security said the suspects, Julio Cesar Sosa Celes, Jesus, sounds like a salad dressing, Alfredo Alejandro Ahorna, and Gabriel Alejandro Hernandez Ledzema, were all in the country illegally and are now in ICE custody. Quote, what we saw last night in Minneapolis was an attempted murder of a law enforcement officer, or a federal law enforcement. Our officer was ambushed and attacked by 3 individuals who beat him with snow shovels and the handles of brooms. Fearing for his life, the officer fired a defensive shot, says DHS Secretary Kristi Noem in a statement. Mayor Jacob Fry and Governor Tim Walz have to get their cities under control. They are encouraging, impeding, and assaulting against law enforcement, which is a federal crime, a felony. This is putting the people of Minnesota in harm's way, she continued. Protests have roiled Minnesota since the January 7th shooting, death of Renee Good, who was killed by an ICE agent after clipping him with their SUV while attempting to evade arrest. Now, she was fleeing arrest, that's true. Clipping him with the SUV is an interesting way to put it, because she either hit him or she didn't. And to put it even more interestingly, I would say she either initiated contact or he did. And the video is clear that he moves in and touches the front of her bumper before she's actually moving the car. And who wouldn't move the car when they see someone masked doing this through the window? And again, yeah, was she wrong to be there? Was she wrong to be impeding officers? Yep. And did she probably know exactly that they were officers and that all of them had the legal justification to do whatever they were doing? Sure. So she threw her life away. That's not argued. But now she's made herself a martyr because it was he didn't have to do it. He was in his legal right to kill her, but not maybe morally or ethically. If he was having a more chill, calm, relaxed day and wasn't angry and frustrated, he wouldn't have pulled his gun and they wouldn't have been all swarming the car. And I'm not making any excuses or rationalizing why she was there. 100% in the wrong. So you can say she got what was coming and that's fine. But it doesn't help ICE at all when someone has a questionable shooting or just has a bad judgment of being in front of the car to begin with. Now all of ICE is in bigger, greater danger because you have guys who claim to be 7-year veterans saying they need to be shot, as you just saw. So that's why this is a bad deal. It ramps it all up. It makes it escalated. It creates a pressure cooker situation where now people are going to be out for blood. And these 3 were. So they've been caught. They've been arrested. They're now in ICE custody. But 3 illegal immigrants from Venezuela. And you have to wonder, is it related that they're from Venezuela, that we just captured Venezuela's president, Nicolas Maduro? Is it possible that people from Colombia care a little less to protest than the people from Venezuela? And I'll just even put it this way. If people who worked in intelligence in Venezuela sent people to the United States as sleepers? Would this not be like the weakest use of it? I would fully expect this, and I posted this saying on X, when you have activated sleeper cells, and if you don't want to call them a sleeper cell, fine, you have illegal immigrants who come here, whether they were formerly fully felonious criminals or not, whether they're already murderers and rapists and gangbangers or not, they come here, they become that. Certainly, they're doing that here. They get activated by Venezuelan intelligence because the Maduro cartel just got decapitated. Assuming that everything that the deep state has said about Maduro's arrest is correct, then he was the head of a cartel. He was actually the head of the cartels in Venezuela. We didn't arrest all of them, so they must have other contacts, and I would bet some of those people are already here. So do you activate them and then have them go and try to and fail to attack an ICE agent? Maybe. Maybe this is the first time they've ever been activated to do something for real and they fucked it up. But this would not be the last instance of blowback that I would expect more. Truly, I would expect a lot more. I'm not calling for it. I'm not saying they ought to, obviously. Let's see. We're working on the fly here. Does that look all right? There you go. They jump out. They try to kill an ICE officer. He fires back in defense. And this is why I think it's probably not an activated sleeper agent cell. They're just gangsters who are in town. They're illegal. And so they see an ICE agent. They don't want to be arrested. So they instead attack. They're attacking with broom handles and snow shovels. Just trying to blend into the Midwestern vibe. So there's some blowback. Here's some more. From Patriot.tv, it says U.S. attorneys are now finally reopening the ludicrous Josh Shapiro case of the woman with the 20 stab wounds that was ruled a suicide. If you recall, Josh Shapiro was is he the governor now? Did he run? Out of Pennsylvania, here's a former U.S. attorney who ruled a wrongful death, a suicide. It was, I think, clearly a murder. And he just said, nah, it's a suicide. And it helped Josh Shapiro. We'll read. It says, U.S. attorneys finally reopening the ludicrous Josh Shapiro case of the woman with the 20 stab wound suicide by Tanya Stoyanovich. The long-dormant case of Ellen Greenberg, a 27-year-old Philadelphia teacher found dead in her apartment with 20 stab wounds back in 2011, has taken a dramatic turn. Sources close to the matter reveal that the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Eastern District of Pennsylvania have stepped in, requesting documents from the Philadelphia Police Department and other agencies. This federal interest comes after years of controversy surrounding the official ruling of a suicide, a conclusion that baffled experts, investigators, and the public alike, because no one believes that. Greenberg was discovered by her fiancé, Sam Goldberg. Slumped oh, really? You don't say. Hit it. Interesting. Now, I mean, I could have played it also at her name, Greenberg. Shapiro covering the murder of Greenberg for Sam Goldberg in Philadelphia. Found by her fiancé, Sam Goldberg, slumped over on the kitchen floor with a 10-inch knife protruding from her chest, as if she just did this 20 times with a 10-inch kitchen knife, because it's not a garage knife, it's not a bathroom knife, protruding from her chest. 10 of the wounds were to the back of her neck and the base of her skull. Like as she ran away to take her down, and then once she's on her, then you got the kill shot. And they ruled it a suicide. 10 of the wounds were at the back of her base of her skull, wounds that many argue would be nearly impossible to self-inflict with such force and precision. Like you're splitting a chicken open, but it's your own from the back. Doesn't make any sense. The initial medical examiner, Marlon Osborne, first classified her death as a homicide, only to reverse it to suicide weeks later, amid pressure from the police investigators, who deemed the scene was suspicious but ultimately pointed to self-harm. Why ultimately did it point to self-harm? Yeah, it's suspicious, but once we saw the note that was slipped into our mailbox at the precinct about how we were going to get blown up if we went any further, it seemed pretty clear. Her parents, this is Ellen Greenberg's parents, Joshua and Sandy Greenberg, have relentlessly pursued justice, filing lawsuits against the city, accusing officials of a deliberate cover-up to mask a flawed homicide probe. They settled with Philadelphia in early 2025 for $650,000, part of which included a promise for an independent review by a new medical examiner. Yet, that October report once again affirmed suicide, prompting fresh outrage. Quote, "I think all those wounds were a cover-up for strangulation," Joshua Greenberg told the reporters, suggesting his daughter may have been manually choked before the stabbings were staged to obscure the truth. Clearly, just imagine for a moment anyone stabbing themselves 20 times, which I'm not saying that that's impossible, 20 times around the base of the skull, the back of the neck, and the throat, with the knife finally landing deep into the chest cavity. You wouldn't have enough force and power to finish yourself off if you were doing 19 other shots around your head and neck. Doesn't seem real, but I think her father's onto something when he says, looks like she was choked, and then this stabbing was to obscure the clear strangulation. I think her dad's got a good point. So we have interesting things happening politically, and I bring this one up as a piece of blowback because whoever Josh Shapiro was helping by covering up for Sam Goldberg, they also owned a little piece of Josh Shapiro then. And whoever Josh Shapiro now owes a favor to, he's also a liability to. So it's one domino that continues to fall. We see it go back to back, tit for tat. Deep state, and then the white hats, they win one, we win one. All right, how do I get that centered up? I don't know why it always changes. Here on X, I had this pulled up because I thought it would be helpful to illustrate just what kind of dumbass psyops we're living through now. This was posted just the other day. Well, I guess technically this was posted, let's see, 1:14 at 6:14 p.m. Iranian airspace appears closed. It appears that way. This is a translation, it looks like. So 51,000 trackers on flights in Iran via flight tracker. The world is watching, this says. That was the post. And if you want the little animation, here it is. Very nice. Look at all of Iran. No airspace. Ooh. Very scary, very spooky. Iran, no planes, no activity. Oh my gosh. This was yesterday. So if you were watching yesterday at 6:15, you might have been hearing about how exciting it was going to be. Maybe tonight's the night. If you were watching Tim Pool, he was like, oh, we're going to do it tonight. Tonight might be the night. We're going to clear out Iran. It's regime change in Iran. We're going to capture Tehran. Somehow, Tim Pool hiring Eliyahu didn't help him because he genuinely, unironically wants to be John Bolton. You know, the war hawk John Bolton that said, the Bush administration is going to be dancing in Tehran. We're going to capture Tehran. One of the foreign, what was it? I guess at the time they called it a foreign relations advisor, international relations advisor. a defense advisor to Trump in his first term, John Bolton, who I think has since been indicted. If I'm not mistaken, John Bolton has been indicted. I think he and his wife are facing some charges. He was the one who predicted that we're going to be marching in the streets of Tehran. We're going to capture the capital of Iran. It's going to be wonderful. And this was yesterday that they posted this again, all big, exciting, that we might have. Well, it didn't happen. Because between then and now, Saudi Arabia stepped in and said, we will not be used. Not our airspace, not our ground space. Saudi Arabia tells Iran its land and airspace will not be used in any strikes. So the U.S. embassy in the Saudi kingdom urges their personnel to exercise increased caution. Out of Dubai, Saudi Arabia informed Iran it will not allow its airspace or territory to be used to attack it. So it's Saudi Arabia telling Iran, hey, just so that we're all clear, we're not going to help them hit you. We're not going to be those guys who sit back and let them queue up planes on our airstrips and then allow cover for them as they fly over and bomb you. We're not going to have that happen. Wasn't it out of Qatar that the United States hit the nuclear bases in Iran? So Saudi Arabia is making sure that the Iranians know. So you have to read into that a little bit. Does Iran have missile technology that they can fire at Saudi and at any other neighbors who are seen to be helping? Yeah, that's how a world war happens. So if Iran perceives of a strike from the U.S. helped or aided by Saudi, it would be a problem for Saudi. And so here these Saudi Arabians are telling them, here, Saudi Arabia has informed Tehran directly it will not be a part of any military action taken against it, and its territory and airspace will not be used for that purpose. Some help, Saudi Arabia. I think it actually is helpful for Trump, because what Trump has to do is go to Israel and say, look, we don't have a lot of allies supporting these new strikes on Iran. We'd love to do it. But the Saudis don't want us to do it from there, from their land. Qatar, not exactly a huge fan of them, are you, Israel? So maybe we just kind of move on and don't do this one. Is that possible? Here's another reason why I think it's questionable. Because Iran has already opened its airspace. So I showed you the map. It said, ooh, look at all this closed up airspace. No one's flying. And now from CNBC, it says Iran reopens airspace after hours-long shutdown spooks airlines. Iran had briefly shut most of its airspace as regional tensions with the U.S. flared. Flight data showed widespread diversions with limited domestic traffic resuming. Global carriers are avoiding Iran amid the security warnings and rising tensions. But if you're in Iran and you need to get around and you have I guess, what would you call that? A domestic flight? I don't know why you would. You could just rent a car. But say you can't. Say you have a domestic flight from one end of Iran to the other, it's probably flying. Iran reopened its airspace early Thursday after a temporary closure that barred most incoming and outgoing flights for several hours, amid concerns that the U.S. would carry out military strikes, which would risk the people in the commercial airlines, so they don't do it. Make sense? But they've reopened. Is it true that they've reopened? They're reporting that they have. I don't have Flight Tracker. I'm sure I could look it up. I don't care. If it weren't closed, I think we would see that. And they're reporting that it is the case. But everything in war is propaganda, so it's just interesting that last night, before everyone went to bed, no one's going to check. They tell you all the airspace is closed and everyone should be on high alert. And people are, they call it saber rattling for a reason. They're amping people up, getting them excited. Come watch the stream taking place at 8 o'clock. We're going to discover and cover all the Iranian breakdown, and it doesn't happen. Then I wonder if Tim Pool was a little blue-balled last night when we didn't strike Iran and nothing ever happened. because he was promoting it all afternoon. I just think that's interesting. Now, before we watch this, and this is one of these that it almost makes you feel like you're on acid watching this 1 minute and 51 second video from all the sounds that you hear breaking down. If you've never done DMT, you want to watch this one with headphones on. This says the final push of the button. This is a segment of an upcoming and much more detailed video. A lot more precise examination with up to each single frame is coming right up. So just sit tight. This is what this person posts. One thing I did not mark here. There is so much happening at once. I did not want to clutter the image with any more pointers, but pay attention to Rick's head. This is this individual here. Aside of his hand. His head movement corresponds to his hand movement. They both move at the same time. He keeps looking down at first, like just contemplating the countdown or whatever, but raises his head at the very, very last moment and looks directly at Charlie. He says, I will have to do a separate segment on that alone, because again, there are a lot of things happening in just this one clip. Let's see. Cheat that over a bit. All right, watch this. And then we're going to watch another one. I'm not going to let the Charlie Kirk thing go until we all have a pretty good idea of what's happened, and I think we're getting there. I think we're going to get there.
Over the last 10 years, Allenton not common gang violence. Over the last 10 years, Allenton are not common gang violence. Great.
Watch him flinch. Watch this flinch.
I'm
saying after you hear the pop, this guy's Rick Cutler's about to hit the button on the trigger. This right here. I believe that's Rick Cutler. He's going to brace his arm and hit the pin trigger in his arm pocket. That detonates the backpack. They would have it as a mic pack on Charlie's back. That's what you see, the pop of the shirt. And something from that is projected straight through and into him like a claymore. Right? Probably a bunch of little ball bearings or other bits, fragments, meant to fragment, go into Charlie, and you see some of it come out the front of his throat. People made the point that if you don't see that front wound, no one ever questions from what angle he was shot, because it just looks like he gets shot and then gets pushed over and goes down. But because you see that from the front, you now have questions. And so people have hyper-analyzed this video. And in the next one I'm going to show you, they have found, frame by frame, explosive material, shrapnel, including in this individual's arm here. So this is why I'm showing you this. Anyways, back up and hang on a second. I wish they had cleaned up the audio on that, but it is what it is. You're having flashbacks, I apologize. And he's going to pull the pin. It pops. First on Charlie's back and like down. like an ignition up the chest and then around the back and through again. Like it goes. And if you hadn't seen the front wound, then you wouldn't question necessarily where it all came from. That's the argument made. Now I want to catch that argument being made. This is so sharp. I mean, I understand when people, question. Look, you can look at the source of information and question its authenticity, or whether the people that are making an argument are rational, or whether you look at a guy wearing a tank top at the table like he is, Ali Zreik, and you go, well, he's not an investigator. He's not wearing a shirt and tie with a pocket protector paid for by the county. But put that aside and look at what he has to say, and then judge what they're actually claiming on its merit, and not necessarily the people that you might judge that it's coming from. This from Project Constitution. I think his name's Connor. He says, bombshell, proof that Dan Flood was injured by shrapnel. And I think he's corrected himself, because it wasn't Dan Flood. It's Brian Farnsworth is the security guy who's standing right next to Charlie in the black shirt that we watch, where people had a right away. They initially pegged him as doing some kind of like third base coach hand signs and signals. That he and Frank Turk together were looked at as potentially giving some kind of signaling or counting down, or were in on it in some way, shape, or form, because it looks like they were, and they're right there. So that person is Farnsworth. And these guys have an image of Brian Farnsworth's arm as he's standing there next to Charlie after the detonation of the device on Charlie's back, where Brian's forearm, the outside of his forearm, is like burned in a line. Like it's like he's standing next to something that flashed him. And you have burn, scorch, and shrapnel up his arm and on the face of his watch that he's wearing in that video. And that's why when you see that from that other angle that we just watched, when you watch him do that flinch, he's trying to keep his composure and not give away that he also just got hit and singed. So we'll hear that explained now by these, because he's dragged himself through all of this, put it all together, and it's pretty impressive. So I want to just let him explain it. How do I here? Oh, I did something. I got to make that a little bigger so you can see the whole screen. There you go. All right. Watch this. Just let me know in the chat, what do you think of the argument? Do you think that the exploding mic has some wheels to it? Does that have some credibility? That is what it looks like to me when I saw Owen Benjamin on like day 2 after it happened say that was what he believed it was, and that makes the most sense, that no one actually shot Charlie Kirk. That's starting to appear that way. And it makes that much more sense when you look at my Patsy theory and say they just needed to have a guy who they had already pre-checked to have had a gun that worked. They lured him to that place. They told him he's going to be a hero. And instead they wrap him up, and no one's questioning if a bullet ever flew through the air. These guys have the video showing that there are spots behind Charlie set up within his tent, aimed at him, tiny little like drone devices that fly off like projectile explosives, like a bullet out of thin air, like it's sitting there in the booth, in the tent. Charlie gets hit, and as he's going down, it fires off at him and hits and blows. And they say that there's explosive shrapnel and other evidence of this all over that table. A binder has been torn up and through. So like Charlie had notes on the table, it got blown up. That a bunch of those hats that were in front of that speaker's stage on the table in front of Charlie, all of those TPUSA hats that the security guards and staff were collecting, scrambling Charlie's not even in the car yet, going to the hospital, and they're collecting the hats off the table. And one person said it was because they didn't want them being stolen, or that people were already grabbing at them to steal them in the chaos at the moment. But when you watch the video back, not one person from the audience is reaching forward to grab hats. You only see staff members from TPUSA and the security grabbing up the hats. And when you think about it now, if those hats weren't just covered in blood, but were covered in explosive residue, the cloud and the vapor from whatever was inside that chest pack, and all of the other fired projectiles and explosives to make sure they're little fail safes, in the event that the mic pack doesn't fully kill Charlie in the moment and he goes, the things behind him were aimed right at him to hit him again and again. And they point out that this person, Tyler James Robinson, if he is even a real person at this point, not an AI created cutout to blame, they have a person who said that their gun worked, that they had 4 shots in the magazine and he had spent 1. Does that make sense? Or does it make it appear like, hey, they needed him, the shooter, to plausibly or credibly have gotten off a few shots? And so we'll claim that he only fired once, hit Charlie, and then hit the ground running. But the scene that they had Charlie die in, that kill box that they had him set up in, had multiple shots on him. And that's why the autopsy doesn't want to be released. They cannot tell you that Charlie had multiple wounds from all over in different directions, and that the one entry wound they didn't have was one directly from the front at a top-down angle. We've seen projectiles flying from in front of his feet up at him this way. We've seen them coming down from behind his head towards his feet. So we've seen the exact opposite angles as what they say the shooter took on him. I'll stop yapping at it for a minute. Watch this with me, and then let me know in the chat what we think as we watch it.
From the beginning, I'm actually the first person that found the projectiles, as well as what I thought was a shell casing, which you see hit the top of the tent there. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know what to make of it, because I've always, from the beginning, I thought it was a shot at first, and I thought the shot came from Charlie's right side, way up there, like from a drone or something. But from the beginning, I thought there were multiple shots. I thought multiple things happened for sure. I got a video for you today. I want to show you a conversation where me and my boy Ali, where he exposed that Dan Flood was actually injured with that explosion. You know how the wireless mic exploded, and that's what killed Charlie, directional charge? Well, there was also a projectile that flew from that and actually struck Dan Flood in his left arm. You can actually see the piece of projectile in Dan's arm, sticking in Dan's arm, along with a mark where it's clearly he's been hit. And you can even look further and see that his watch is cracked and damaged from the explosion. And this is something that was completely hidden, that nobody has talked about, and it implicates him. Clearly, Dan Flood is part of it. He's that they're covering up that he was part of this. That he was hit by the explosion, so he knew there was an explosion. He's not saying anything because he's in on it, obviously. But I'm going to show you that real quick and let you guys look for yourself. But it's wild. Check it out. Let me just start off. I'll tell you where I am, and then you can tell me where it fits or what you're saying. Okay. Mm-hmm. I'm 100% in the camp of the exploding microphone now. Especially after, like you said, the pictures that showed the burns, and not only that, but also you can see the black shards or whatever. You could see them in the shot as it's exploding. You could see them in the van or in the truck too. In the van, you could see them on the table in where Charlie was. And then how they erased how they paved over the crime scene so quick afterwards. And they did that to hide the explosive material. And then you have the Accurate Energetic Systems, the plant that exploded in Tennessee, which turns out, as Barron showed, is related to this because he tracked a plane from one of the people that went there, and from there, exactly. So I definitely believe 100% that the microphone. Exploding microphone. It was a directed charge from the microphone, and that is what killed Charlie. But I still, like I said, I still am positive that there was other things happening. There 100% for sure was a high energy projectile used, because remember back at the beginning we first thought that we saw that would look to be a muzzle flash reflection in the window.
The window area.
Well, I had an expert on my show which came on and said, no, that's not a muzzle flash. What it actually was the pressure cone or pressure wave around the bullet from when it goes from supersonic down to subsonic.
I see.
So that's what that is. So there 100% was, because that can't be faked, and an exploding microphone won't. That doesn't account for that. Mm-hmm. So there definitely was another shot fired. I just don't think it was fired at Charlie. I think it was for a distraction or to make it, because they needed the gunshot. They needed it to appear like a gunshot for that 30-06, for them to go with that 30-06 story. What they were trying to do is they were trying to mimic the MLK shooting. They were trying to make it exactly like the MLK, and I think what the things went really, really wrong. I don't think he was supposed to get hit in the neck. I think that was a mistake.
I completely agree.
And that actually screwed everything up for them, because
bullseye. You're right. That's why they had so much things set up. They knew that this thing had a chance of failing. Do you understand what I'm saying? That's why they had those fail safes behind them as well. They had multiple things. You're right on the money with that one.
Yeah, and that's where I didn't understand, because like I said, I also found the three. It looked like 3 projectiles. You're saying it's 5, but I saw 3 projectiles behind him, as well as the shell casing bouncing off the tent from that same area. And I wasn't sure what to make of that, other than I thought, okay, well, here's something else. Is this something like, were there 3 shots now instead of 2? Mm-hmm. So you tell me, like you say, you found more.
I'm going to show you right now on video. Look what I found out yesterday. They had, I don't know if you've been watching John Brady, but look at this. Look at what I found out from those Charles McClintock Wilson. Some of those pictures they released. Let me pull it up for you so you can see this.
I know Barron said that they were actually, those pictures, some of them showed actual burns, or either burns or bruises on Charlie. Is that what you're talking about?
Not just that. Dan Flood's arm too. Dan Flood's left arm, the side where he was standing. Remember I showed you a video. Let me show you that little that clip of when those projectiles actually explode. Those now I know for a fact, 1,000% without a doubt, those were fail-safe devices. In case the microphone didn't properly explode and take care of Charlie, they had a fail-safe device behind him. So if he got up to go close to Dan Flood, the devices would kill him. Or the rig device. I'll show you on video. I saw it was actually 2 projectiles out.
I understand that they, in this video, have 2 audio sources playing for a minute. It is annoying. I want you to know it's not me, but I appreciate you being patient about it.
To this day, I just slowed them down and I watched all 4. See, they had them in unison. They had all 5 of them lined up. And initially, I thought it was 2. But now when I slow it down and I look at it, it's actually 5 projectiles. And now the 2 that actually fly next to Dan Flood, one of them hit him. One of them hit his arm, hit like the side of his arm, and it hit his watch. And his watch is completely destroyed. That's why he flinches like that. I have it on video. I'm going to show you 1 second if I can connect my screen.
Oh, really?
Yes, I have it on camera. Now that I got proof that it actually hit his arm, and it's funny because Valhalla was on there yesterday. I watched their stream the whole time. You see that, Tom? That's where some of those projectiles, I watched exactly what they were doing at the table. And Valhalla into the ground, pointed it out. I think he knows that Blake. But I think he knows some of the stuff because he mentions it. He says, "Oh, look at you can see on his arm either the platform or something there is red shade. You can see the I have no doubt about that. Inside, you see all these arms broken." I'm going to show you a picture right here real quick. Let me show you the picture first, and then I'm going to show you the actual video slowed down of all 5 projectiles firing off. And then I'm going to show you them right when it hits Dan Flood's arm, and you see him flinch and jump from you.
I'm pausing this again just to point out, when he says Dan Flood, he means Brian, what was it? Flintock? Fuck, yeah, no, that's not right. What is the damn name? It's, Farnsworth, right? Is that what we said? Brian Farnsworth? They got the names of the guy. Dan Flood was the other one.
There's Dan Flood's arm. All right, look at it right here. Let me zoom in. All right, look at this. See his arm right here? You see the scrape? You see the piece of plastic glass in there? There's and then look at the watch. Look at that. You see
Exactly.
that completely destroyed.
Holy shit, you're right.
What hits the face of a watch that hard and also sprays off in both directions like that? That's not a scrape like you fell and scuffed your wrist. That's like you got shot with some like pepper ball. That's what that looks like.
Right.
You see that?
Yeah.
That's why he flinches. I'm going to show you the video now. Like, look at that. They pointed out the dude after I saw that. I lost my damn mind. And look which side. Look which side, Tom. That's his left side. That's his left arm.
Exactly.
You see that?
Yep.
Now look at this.
He was trying to pretend like that nothing happened, but
Nothing happened. Yup.
He's got a piece of black projectile. And here, another thing is,
Look at this right next to the watch face itself. There's like a little piece of glass stuck in his arm, actually, right there. So there's one right here. There's another right here. And he's bleeding from it, and there's like a spot of blood across, or maybe that's like open skin. Damn.
in the hospital, right? Candace said that they all were given changes of clothes in the hospital.
What?
Yeah.
Were they really?
Yes. So that would explain it then too, because they're trying to cover up the evidence of the explosion and stuff.
Man, that makes perfect sense. Because, dude, look at the bruise on his arm. Whatever hit him really goddamn hard. Look at that. There's a piece in there. Let me show you the video.
You can see it.
Video,
You can see it in him.
And look at this. Let me show you the video now. Look at this. Watch this. Watch the video now. The video, you're gonna lose your mind. Of course, man. Listen, I'm all over this, Colin. I am all over this thing. Now look at this.
This is crazy to me. Is this big enough for you to be able to see it? At the joint of the tent, they put these tents together, these pop-ups. There's a space here where there's like a support, a bar, something. And there's a device planted on it, and it launches from it.
Just look at that. See when these go off? Look at the side.
Look at that thing as it went and shot off of its home. It was homed there, and it gets shot off of that spot.
Dan Flood's left arm.
And sent forward. That right there is a little fragmentation device, a little explosive meant to dissolve away into nothing once it hits and kills its target.
To see where his watch is? Look at that. You see that?
Yeah.
You see him jump?
Yep.
It was right next to him. That's exactly what hit his arm.
Did you see that fly off? There's something seated right there in the housing of the inside of the tent, right behind Charlie. And what would power that? What would give that thing the intelligence or the know of when to go? Hey, remember that guy that jumped up behind the tent after Charlie was carried away and immediately grabbed the camera? What if the camera was just a controller for that device? Because we've yet to see the footage from that camera's angle, right? Was that camera even rolling? Or maybe it was, but was it a secondary device to trigger this thing?
And I listen.
That flies off like you see an insect flying intelligently. It goes like, it knuckleballs off of this thing.
Exactly what hit his arm. And
you
I
see
listen. There's another clip that shows you exactly where some of those landed too. I have a clip. Somebody sent Trigger Smart of a few clips, a few pictures that show the table right in front of Charlie, where those actual projectiles hit. They actually went through the table, Colin. They hit one of the notebooks and tore up a bunch of paper. I have a video of that too. I'm gonna show you that right now in a second. But look at that. You see that clear as day. You cannot miss that.
Definitely.
Look at that. 1, 2, boom. That's what hit his arm.
Exactly. You can see him flinch in pain too.
You see him flinch in pain too. Arm.
Exactly.
Yeah, you can see these things flying behind Charlie.
Right now in a second. But look at that. You see that clear as day. You cannot miss that.
Definitely.
Look at that. 1, 2, boom. That's what hit his arm.
Exactly.
You can see him in contrast really well against the guy's shirt as they zip by. That one is one moving.
You see pain too.
You see him flinch in pain too.
And he's trying to pretend like nothing's happened.
Nothing happened. Exactly. That's why I think they also took him off the roster. I think he just resigned or something, man.
Oh, he's running scared for sure. Same thing with Harple. Both of them are running scared.
Exactly. And watch this clip. This clip's going to show you how many projectiles actually shot off. Look at this. You see this? Look. 1, 2, 3, 4. You see how they fire off in unison?
Oh yeah.
Are you seeing that, Colin? Look at that one. Look.
Bing, 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 bing.
See, when you look at it in fast motion, it only looks like 2 projectiles because how fast they fly off. But when you watch it frame per frame, look at that. I actually slowed it down and counted them. Look at this. You can count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Isn't that insane? I'm telling you, a bunch of those projectiles. See, I talked to Cub.
That was waved off at the very beginning when this angle first had been seen. People noticed that, and we were told that that's just someone moving. They're wearing something dark, and that you're seeing the top of their head as they're moving behind the tent, we were told. But you just saw from that other angle, and in this one now, slowed down frame by frame, there is something leaving that spot, coming forward, down and into the ground, right next to Charlie. Not at the ground at his feet, but right past him, and then into the table in front of him, not hitting anyone in the crowd, which is why they took these angles. If it was straight across, they would end up hitting a bunch of different people in the crowd. So they had to go straight up and straight down. And they did, right into, essentially, into his feet from a high angle, right above and behind him.
And Cub told me, when they actually set this event up, somebody requested that little platform right next to them to his right there. That's what I think bounced and hit the ceiling in the tent as well, because there's 5 projectiles. Only 2 are accounted for, at least which I initially saw. And let me show you 2 more where 2 more hit. There's one more video clip I want to show you real quick. It's a little sped up. Let me show you. Look at this.
I think if the neck wound wouldn't have appeared, it would have been a lot easier. And I think that's what they were prepared for. Because I don't think anybody would have been questioning anything, right? It would have just been open and closed. But there's just left with speculation.
This random person, to this day, I have no idea who this person is. I don't know if they're an agent. I don't know anything about them. This person sent me some very extremely detailed information about what they thought happened. Part of what they sent me is these images here.
From lower?
And they kind of obviously zoomed in on it. But you
if anyone has a link to it, because I wanna see this again too. Someone had posted over on X a couple weeks ago when I first saw it, or maybe a while ago before that. I had seen someone had posted the video from, it would have been from Charlie's left side, maybe shoulder or head height, looking at him, and you can see the space in between his knees and his feet as they're on the stage. So you can see him seated. And in between because of the angle, it makes it appear as though the projectile is moving between his knees, up into him or whatever, maybe down away from him. If the video was posted in reverse, it's possible. But the guy has zoomed, and you can clearly see, especially in slow motion, something moving up through from the ground into Charlie's personal direction. So when you see a neck wound like this that he had, and it didn't hit him in the chest like they were trying to make it have, it instead hits him in the neck. Maybe that neck wound is one of a bunch of different things hitting him at the speed of sound. That one crack you heard is not 130-06, but is simultaneously timed, triggered to that pin. A bunch of different projectiles all flying at Charlie all at once. Maybe they're timed so that one is delayed a half a second, and that's why they wait to move in to push him over until they see the other one go through. All just me speculating based on what we're watching right now, but we're all seeing the same things. So if you have a video clip, or if you have a link to that the video, and if you know which one I'm talking about, the one where you can see a projectile moving up and through into Charlie's way from the ground, let me know, because that exists. I think I bookmarked it, but I have bookmarked so many things.
You can see these like fragments of pieces that were falling down. There's one here. I don't know if you can see that very well.
Yeah.
There's one there, and then there's a separate one here. And then there's, a couple other ones that are shown in different areas.
It's not digital artifacting or video fragments of being processed, because it's the same little object that the camera's picking up as it's moving. So these are actual little pieces of debris or shrapnel. And then the other question I'd ask of people who were there would be to ask, where exactly did all the hats go? Where did every single piece of that set end up? After that, bang, and Charlie goes down. Every single hat that was on the table needs to be accounted for, because I'd bet you that it has explosive residue on them each. The tablecloths and the tables and the legs of the tables, all those things should be swabbed and tested. And I bet you it's not just like, oh, it's explosive material, but those chemicals also exist in fertilizer and they were on the grass. None of that bullshit. Test these things for explosive residue, and I guarantee you find that he was not just shot by a 30-06.
But I was curious. I said, is there any way that black plastic...
You see that, Colin? That's where some of those projectiles actually hit. Some of them went through the table. Some of them went into the ground. And one of them, I'm telling you, that video that Blake Benares posted about the thing flying off the tent, I guarantee you one of them bounced off one of either the platform on the floor or something there and ricocheted up out of that tent. I have no doubt about that. After seeing all these little tiny pieces go flying, that's exactly what happened with those. I have no doubt about that. What I think happened is some of the stuff that were on the table, either got broken or like ripped up paper from that little notebook. Because he had some kind of like a what do you call it? Like a folder there, like a white folder. I think when one of those pieces.
He's thinking of the word quaderna.
Punctured it through. Man, there was a bunch of debris everywhere. If you actually looked at everything in slow motion,
Oh,
you
absolutely.
posted a clip too of a little tiny projectile hitting one of the bottles, going through a bottle of water.
Yep.
I remember you posted that. So I mean, there's projectiles everywhere there, man, flying around.
Yeah, like I said, like a little claymore device goes off against his chest, and they've got a bunch of little, just sting the whole area with death, spray it all down real quick, indistinguishable to the naked eye as people are watching, wiping sweat out of their eyes and listening to Charlie make good arguments on political points and issues that they care about. And then bang, they're all blinking and looking around, and they don't hardly even see all the little flying projectiles immediately overhead of Charlie coming right down on him.
And the dead flood thing, I am without a doubt 1,000%. Those projectiles behind him, those were fail safe. They knew there was a chance this thing wasn't going to fire off properly. You know what I'm saying? And this is what I wanted to mention as well. When they found the rifle, or they claimed when they found the rifle, how they found exactly 4 rounds with it. I'm telling you,
it's because after Charlie got hit once, they didn't know if they were going to have to claim that the shooter stood there on the roof and took one shot and then ran, or if they were going to have to claim, based on what happened to Charlie, that the shooter actually stood there and took 4 shots or 2 shots or 3 shots. Because if he sat there with one injury and then continued to get hit from other projectiles coming through, they would have to say that the shooter was on the roof in a prone position taking multiple shots. And if that's the case, then they can't release the video of the shooter on the roof in the first place that they say they have. Making sense yet? All this makes sense if there was no shooter and there was just a guy bringing a gun, hoping that he might be helpful in a ruse, and boy, was he. Tyler James Robinson. Hey guys, will you be my friends online and become trans with me and my boyfriend? I got a gun you can use if you guys say you'll use it and promise to be good with it. And they say, we need to make sure your gun works and is real if we're going to do this thing for you. He keeps posting about how he wants Charlie Kirk to die, and then he goes to his parents' house and says, yeah, it's a really stupid place for him to have an event. At an open-air place like UVU, that's really stupid of him to do. And maybe he felt confident saying that because someone else said, hey, if you got a gun, we'll take the shot. And he says, well, I've got a gun, so I'll meet you. And they go, we need to see the gun first and make sure it works. And then from there, they can set up their scene. If he has an AR-15 with a 30-round magazine, they might have had 15 of these projectiles hit Charlie Kirk, and maybe they would have intentionally harmed people in the crowd because it's a better cover that it's like a mass shooting where a guy was in a gallery position just taking shots. Yeah, that's too big of a story. Okay, here he's got an old 30-06 from his grandpa, handed down. Okay, well then in that case, we set up a kill box that only has a few detonations, and we make sure the first one is the one chest mounted, strapped to his back, ready to go. It detonates, and then you see all these little backup plans flying through just to make sure. And so you see some of those have wounded the security guard. That's fascinating. That's a piece of like glass or something dug sideways into the skin of the wrist, and it's scuffed a bunch. There's a pretty nice little cut, and you can see blood, not dried, but caked where he has had to adjust his wrist after seeing the damage. That is of interest. That should be of interest to everyone. How did that injury take place? Did the FBI ever account for that injury? He doesn't once draw a gun. He's got his hand on what you would think would be a firearm on his front side. I just think that's doggone interesting. I saw that and said, well, we got to share that. So this is Brian Farnsworth, I believe is the name of the security guard that they are mistaking for being Dan Flood. And Project Constitution did correct himself. He did catch it and say, oh, actually, wait, that's not the name. I'll move this back. Looks all right. So that's questionable, to say the least. People should want answers on that. Like I do. All right. Moving on to ask one question about Israel before we get in trouble. Speak with Didi says, Yuval Harari is an Israeli philosopher. Thoughts? Here, let's listen to a couple of his musings on humanity and the way of the world as it goes in the future, and we'll just see if we agree.
What do we need humans for? Or at least, what do we need so many humans for?
Do you have an answer in the book?
At present, the best guess we have is keep them happy with drugs and computer games. The idea with social credit is to monetize everything. To give value to every single thing you do in life. It has positive potential in some regards. Most people will be willing to give up their privacy in exchange for much better healthcare based on 24 hours monitoring of what's happening inside their bodies. This is the end of human history. Not the end of history, the end of human-dominated history. History will continue with somebody else in control. AI could even write a new Bible. All the other books of the other religions, humans wrote them. But our book, no. It came from some superhuman intelligence. Human rights are just like heaven and like God. It's just a fictional story. Companies like Apple and Google will have tons and tons of data on your body, on your most private affairs and conditions. We humans should get used to the idea that we are no longer mysterious souls. We are now hackable animals. By hacking organisms, elites may gain the power to re-engineer the future of life itself. Although to collaborate on a large scale, you need to convince everybody to believe in the same story. The engine of history is stories. And they don't even need to be true.
They don't even need to be true. They don't even need to be true. If you listen to them and their stories and the reasons that they give for why they do what they do, you'll notice they never really need to be true. It doesn't matter if all the people of Gaza aren't actually Hamas supporters. It doesn't matter if Hamas is even really, truly, organically elected, if it helps. Anyways, whatever podcast has had a history of shutting it down anytime that's brought up, anytime you are just asking questions, whether you are the big get for them for the year or not, whether you're just a trog from the OnlyFans pages, or if you're a thought leader, female comedian like Leonardo Joni. When was this? Last year. Nailed it. June 3rd, this was posted. So she was on last, I guess now almost a summer, two summers ago? Was it 2 ago? 18 months ago. She's on the Whatever podcast, and she makes a good point. They shut that down then. And I'm showing you this because there's a huge shift on the Whatever podcast. It seems like they got the call, and it was the opposite call that everyone else gets, it seems. Like he had forever always been like, no, we're not talking about it. And now he's outright just being like, hey, why are you such a... So it's interesting. Watch this.
I don't know if you guys are into this conspiracy particularly, but we do have our CIA and Israel CIA. Mossad. Can't say that. Can't say that.
We're not going to get into fucking Israel, Palestine.
I'm not getting into that. I'm getting into the secret agencies, CIA, Mossad, and MI6, which is Britain's. Why can't I say that? They're 3 major power secret agencies.
Okay, I thought you were going...
No, I'm talking about these 3 major intelligence world powers who work together to get blackmail information on people who are not out there.
Whitney Webb. Read Whitney Webb's books on this. It's very well documented. All
right, let me read some chats here.
Okay, isn't that interesting? Rachel Wilson, God bless her heart, Rachel Wilson actually kind of supporting Leonardo Joni here and having her back. You can tell, okay, she's got her arms above the table, so she's not telling him, hey, calm down, relax. We'll explain later why it's okay. So Brian Atlas, who we started today's little show with, let me see. Did I already delete it and go away from it? This is the guy who says, what opinion of yours do you just stand by like this in the face of everyone telling you that you're wrong when you know you're right? You just stand by it. And I had said, I think it's that Israel killed Charlie. Here, maybe he's having his eyes opened a bit. Where'd it go? He wants to shut it down. He's saying, nope, I've been told by sponsors and by people at YouTube and by everything else, I should be talking dating. I should be talking about relationships. I should be talking about how these women make so much money prostituting themselves. Girls, doesn't that sound so great? Kind of, even if I say it's not good and I make my whole channel about how it's not good. I scold you for making millions selling titty pics online. Girls don't hear that and go, well, I guess those girls are whores. They go, fuck, you can make a ton of money selling tit pics. The girls at home are watching this thinking, I already send those to my boyfriend. I might as well be a whore making millions. So, okay, maybe it's not a good thing to expose people to, just like when I say that Karlin Borisenko, where did that go? When I talk about, yeah, there it is. When I say Karlin Borisenko's post is just exposing people to this, good, bad, or indifferent, it's not all good, because some people see it and go, yeah. Some people see it and become emboldened. Some retards see a clip like this and don't see a problem with it, and they go pick up a gun. We are led to believe. So it's interesting that the gang on the whatever podcast just a year and a half ago, the producers, the host, they were all aware we're not touching Israel. And granted, this is in 2024, so it's 9 months after the October 7th attack of 2023. Maybe they were told their YouTube monetization will be instantly gone. They will make almost half the money they used to make on all their shows. They're making a ton. They were like the #1 show. You'll make next to nothing, and you'll be banned on YouTube, and your channel risked, all these things, if you talk about these contentious issues. And then it's like the vaccine, or Chinese clones being murdered, or whatever the next thing is that YouTube tells them not to talk about. And at that point, it was Israel. And so the moment she says CIA and Israel's CIA, he goes, no. It's like that Tim Pool clip where you hear this guest or a co-host bring up the USS Liberty. Was it Ian that brings up the USS Liberty? And then Tim Pool goes, whoa, we're not getting into that. Or he'll say things like, it doesn't really matter where the attacks came from. You have the edit where it cuts in with the actor John saying, that's kind of weird thing to say that. Or no, it's Dana. It's Dana White. They cut him in, and it's kind of a weird thing to say, huh? So you have the Tim Pool. Well, let's just find it. Let's just go and find the clip, shall we? Let's go find the clip, because I don't want to sound like an idiot describing something that I could just pull up and have. Tim Pool shuts down Liberty. Where is the clip? Come on.
With having American aircraft carriers over there. Like, I keep being told about the USS Liberty. That's something with the Israeli government.
Yeah, you should. No. Wait. You should be careful about that.
Allegedly, the Israeli Air Force jet fighter aircraft.
I mean, they did end up paying out the American government.
So I'm concerned like false flag operation, like a missile comes out of Gaza.
Oh, no, it
hits one of our aircraft carriers, but it was actually an Israeli missile.
Well,
I don't want. We should get out of there.
It doesn't. Let me stop you there. It doesn't matter where the missile comes from.
That's weird, huh?
Okay, that's what I was referring to. Mostly right across the board. Similar response seen here.
Do have our CIA and Israel CIA on side. Can't say that. Can't say that.
We're not going to get into fucking Israel Palestine.
Why assume that was what she was saying? First of all, just weird, primed for that response. He's primed to respond that way. No, we are not. Nope, we're not even going to go there. I heard you say the magic I word. We're not doing it. That was a year and a half ago. Now, hear Brian Atlas in his own words. I'm not saying he's anti-Israel. Again, as I have pointed out, exposing the public to something does not necessarily mean that they're going to see it for being bad and turn away from it. They might see it and go, yeah, I don't have a problem with that. Whatever. Doesn't matter to me. I mean, the podcast is named Whatever. Promotion of apathy among the youth. Hey, girls, why do you not care about the country? That's what this kind of looks to be. Now, people who already do care about the country will go, man, that's fucked up to hear. That's terrible that these women are saying these things. But to anyone else that doesn't already think that, they don't care. And then now this kind of does look like promotion. And if you normalize something by first exposing people to how bad it is, someone's eventually going to say, well, it's not all bad. And then it becomes normal.
Imagine a completely neutral, hypothetical situation where neither the United States or the country of your origin is the aggressor. Neither has done anything unethical, just a conflict that exists. To which country is your allegiance? So starting with you, Israel or the United States?
Israel.
You were born there?
I was born there.
And then when did you move to the United States?
When I was a baby.
You are how old?
I'm 28.
28. Of your 28 years, how much of that time has been spent in the United States?
Majority of it.
How much?
26 and a half. If your allegiance is to Israel, why don't you live there? Why do you live here? Work. So you want to...
This is why. I bet you she's a dual citizen, right? Born in Israel, but now lives in the United States. Has obtained naturalized citizenship. Works here, but will retire there. In doing, will benefit from U.S. tax dollars being sent there under current constructs. That's how that works. We pay their retirement benefits. Same in the Ukraine, by the way. We're paying all the Ukrainian military and civilian retirement benefits because their country imploded and they needed money. So we sent ours. Now ours is imploded. Who cares? They come here. They rape the country of its wealth, its resources. They're taking a job that an American woman could be taking. I hope it's not an OnlyFans position, but even still, they're soaking up US dollars that could be better spent. The guy who spends money on OnlyFans could be spending it on anything else in the US economy, but instead is giving it to them. That's a problem.
Majority of it.
How much?
26 and a half. If your allegiance is to Israel, why don't you live there? Why do you live here? Work. So you want to reap the benefits of the United States, but you won't back them in the case.
I never said that. Even if you didn't say that you're currently reaping the benefits of being in America, like the clothes.
Yeah, you didn't say that. You refuse to admit that. That's the whole point.
Get a life, Jews.
You come here, you do all the things we're accusing you of doing, and then you won't even admit it. You won't even own up to it. You're just the worst kind. The black guy, at least when he robs you, goes, so what? I took it. That's mine. I didn't do nothing. They at least admit, which is, I think, more chutzpah than this is showing.
You're wearing, the place you're living, it's all because America's provided this for you. America's giving you so much, basically what I'm saying, and you're still going to choose Israel.
Yes.
You can't make it up. And so they made this edit.
Imagine
Imagine Podcast put this together and posted it. Does this make her look good or bad? Does this make dual citizens look good or bad? I think this obviously makes her look terrible. And that's a good thing. Right? Overall, this is a net good, but it will still embolden and empower and make people reach out to this woman, and they'll tell her, oh, actually, it was a good thing. That's totally fine. We support you. It's a good thing. Having dual loyalty and no real nationality is a good thing. It's actually what makes you Jewish, they would tell you. We're a nomadic people. We're constantly without a homeland. Quetch, quetch, quetch. Here's a couple problems I have. Hard turn. On the UFO Mania account. Here's a nice account, good aggregator, posts a lot of different content from a lot of different people, has a tendency to promote some flat earth stuff. So here's something I want to point out. Yesterday or 2 days ago, this person posts a video where a guy had zoomed in on Greenland on Google Maps and had seen that there are some photos taken on the ground there in Greenland in a very, scarcely populated and disparate area. And so he drops himself in and looks, and sure enough, maybe you've seen the video. He says, gee, this looks a lot like the surface that they show you claiming to be Mars. Here are all the same rocks. Here are all the same things, the same features. It's just minus the red tint. He says, oh, now we've got NASA equipment, big trucks from AM General, and on the side, NASA stickers. And then you see a test rover, and he's like, oh my God, I think I found where they film Mars and the moon. So you can't tell me then that you don't believe in the moon or you don't believe in Mars. They may exist, but that what NASA is showing you is all just stuff filmed here on Earth. And then simultaneously say, we do have images of Mars. Here's the surface of Mars from the MRO high-rise image of the surface of Mars, showing the, quote, Atlantic chaos. A closer examination reveals a city that was almost destroyed by thermonuclear weapons. Well, that's a huge reach. Amid the ruins of the destroyed buildings and towering structures, a largely intact dome-shaped structure is visible. Here's the video they're pointing to. Here's the Atlantis Cassis by Neville Thompson. Ancient city on Mars looks to be destroyed by thermonuclear attack revealed by the MRO HiRISE. What do you make of that? Like satellite view of a former city wiped completely out, that's the grid that they built on. Very human looking, very organized and cellular. And it looks to be in like an intelligent construction. You might say the same thing, though, if you looked at the cell structure of the inside of a plant. And again, this is all totally fine to look at. It's exciting to stare into. We have no idea what it all is or what it means. It totally looks like it could be a former civilization that has been almost wiped out. Like if you looked at what a nuclear site would look like after a detonation took place, this is maybe it. Who knows? If New York were hit with like a record-setting atomic device that actually wiped out all life on Earth, but it went off in the air overhead of New York, would this be what the outskirts of New York look like? Would this be what a city looks like if you completely decimated it with a blast? Forget the nuclear stuff. If you just wiped everything off with force, would this be what it looked like left behind? I have no idea. This is also an account that says Mars isn't actually real, that we don't actually have pictures of it, and that those pictures are in Greenland. One of the reasons that they say we're going to Greenland is because we need to take it over because of all the UFO activity there, and because we set up our little NASA film sites to be there. I have no idea if that's true or not either, but we've seen the video, we've seen the Google Maps images, so it doesn't look totally fake. By the way, if you do use X, head over to x.com/TommyBorumJokes. You can follow me there. I'd appreciate it. Help me grow. I'm up to 17.8 thousand followers now, which is awesome. You could be one.
3 artifacts that seem to defy evolution. This was found in 1912 in a coal mine. It was in a large piece of coal. It broke open. This is a replica of that cup. That's the original cup. What's an iron cup doing in coal? Unless coal...
That is strange. So they're digging for coal, and then they hear a tink tink with the pickaxe, and they dig through, and this is what they find. An iron cup in the coal.
Coal was formed at the same time that iron was. That does not support evolution. This right here is the London hammer. Here is the original. What's interesting about this is it's encased in alluvial stone. You could make the argument this is, great-grandfather's iron hammer, but this is starting to coalize, and there's a little nick that was taken out of it 75 years ago. It's right there, and it didn't rust, and it has chlorine in it. Here's the chemical makeup right there. Iron and a little bit of chlorine, which is unusual.
And sulfur. He missed saying that. The chemical of the undead and the unholy in the netherworld.
This particular artifact right here, I kind of panned at one time, thinking it was kind of,
You bought the others, but not this one? Look, carbon dating is, I think, kind of fake. And so when we say we know how old something is, we have to kind of take it with a grain of salt. When we say we found a steel cup stuck in the coal of a place, did we? Is it actually from that time? We don't know. Did they test the steel or the iron of the cup? No. Why'd they take a scrape from the hammer, but not from the cup? Can we figure that out? Does any of it make sense? I 100% believe that the Earth is likely older and also maybe younger than they want you to believe. But whatever they're telling you, I have to assume that they're telling you, one, probably isn't the whole truth, and that's for a reason. And two, the part they're giving you is not going to be helping you if you operate solely based on it. So you look at some of these things and you go, Is it a fossilized mummy? He's telling you right off the bat that that's just a remake replica for him to hold on to, but that the real mummified finger was given x-rays and examinations, and they determined that it is in fact real and they can't fake it. So that's an interesting question he poses at the end. That's why I pulled this up. You can question Greenland. You can question all the reasons for why Israel or Mars or anything else. He asks, apes, aliens, or Adam? And actually, I'm reading this here. I'm reading Chariots of the Gods. And I didn't plan to pull this little part up, but there is a piece of this where they're talking about they'd uncovered Piri Reis's maps. Apparently Piri Reis, and I'm about to do some more research into them. Piri Reis was someone in the British Naval, the British Royal Navy, British Naval Forces, finds old maps, preserves them, and years later, they are found among other things that had been preserved. And they're looking at these maps, and if spread out flat and looked at as maps taken from an aerial view, they mapped out mountain ranges in Antarctica that had not yet been discovered and would only be discovered in 1952. These were maps that had been found in the 1700s or 1600s, then preserved throughout the next 200 years, and then found in the early 1900s. And people are scratching their heads going, well, these maps don't make any sense because, one, they're showing land that we don't know exists. It's beyond what we think, is here. And two, these are maps that, you wouldn't have had access to be making as a British Royal Naval Force leader, admiral, cartographer, map keeper. So it doesn't even make sense that he has it unless he found them, Piri Reis, finding these two maps, these archaic maps on their travels, and that they were artifacts from a former time. If that makes the most sense, then it was actually like a map of where to go look in Antarctica. These maps that Piri Reis, Pirireis, Piri Reis, the maps that he had found showed what humans up until 1951 had not yet discovered or found. In 1952, they're there. They then discover in Antarctica the geographical sites that were mapped out, but they said didn't appear like they would actually be accurately mapped out because this person had mapped them on a flat map given to him from an aerial view, whereas they were trying to chart on a globe. So they only found them when they followed his map. Anyways, you look into that at your leisure. I'm going to wrap it up here with this one. Some good slop. This is from Santa Trump on X saying, we have tech literally light years ahead of Russia and China. Do you think that we don't have the same tech, that we don't all have similar tech? We say that China steals everything from the US and just copies it. You don't think that they have like a knockoff? Anyways, watch this. It's very interesting, entertaining. How fake does that look? Is that real? Probably not. Looks to be AI. AI always wants the sun to look really cool and action, packed. They're always flying at the golden hour for AI. But that, whether we actually have something like that or not, maybe we do. Maybe all the drones that the people were seeing in New Jersey were our test piloting of this in a civilian environment. It's possible. Nothing's impossible. But this looks to be fake. And so we can continue to hype ourselves up with fake AI like this that comes out, but maybe you'll tell me it's real. I don't believe it. Yeah, this video was created digitally. Well, I'm not. I'm real. I hope you're real. I appreciate you being here. Thanks for it. If you would, hit the like button, share a link to the show, comment, subscribe, do all the things that help the channel grow. You can find it on Rumble, Odyssey, Pilled, X, YouTube. The show goes on 5 of those channels live. We'll see you on the next one. Where's the play button? Oh, we'll go up there. Link in the description of the video, wherever you're watching.